Good morning and welcome to day 2 of the Pause Project. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. And if this is your second time, thank you for joining us again and making time in your day, whenever it was, to watch this and try to train the mind in concentration and learn to meditate. So this morning, we're going to be talking about choosing an object of meditation. And I wanted to start off by reminding us that in our classical yoga text, the definition of yoga is the cessation or the stopping or the slowing of the fluctuations of the mind. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to calm down all the little fluctuations, all the thoughts that are constantly moving as best we can. My teacher likes to say this is like calming the pond. If you imagine that you dropped a rock into a very calm pond, it would send ripples out to the sides, and then those ripples would hit the bank and they would come back and reverberate. And that happens over and over until those start to slow down unless another rock hits it. But if it doesn't, they slow and slow and slow until they're totally stopped, and then we can see to the bottom. This is kind of the visual I want you to think about as we start to try to choose an object, focus on the object, and calm the mind down. And so when you're choosing an object, you want to choose something that is easily usable, is accessible, is also uplifting. And many times we tend to settle on the breath as teachers. We want to have something that everyone has, everyone can use, and obviously everyone has to use and be able to use the breath throughout their day. So it's something that everybody is familiar with, but your object really can be anything. And it could be something that is an object. It could be a pyramid. It could be an apple. Anything that you can keep your focus on. Some traditions actually will count the breath, and they will count 1, inhale, exhale, 2, inhale, exhale. And if they have a thought that they notice, they start over at the beginning. I remember speaking to a gentleman that this was his practice. This is a Zen meditation technique. And I'll never forget it because it really gave me some confidence that this really is just a practice that we're attempting over and over. And there really is not an end goal outside of trying to just calm the mind. And he told me, after I asked him, how high does he typically get when he counts before he has a thought? And he said, for 20 years, I have never gotten above 4. And so that was very encouraging to me. And so when I think about just calling my attention back over and over, that really is the goal versus immediately being able to drop in. And you'll notice that if your practice becomes firmly grounded or firmly rooted with a daily practice over a long period of time, these things get easier and easier. And so you can have an anchor like the body. So if you're getting distracted over and over, which we're going to talk about next week, how to use the body as an anchor and set it up in a way that is less distracting. But you can think about, I'm sitting on my chair. I can feel my body sitting on the surface that I've chosen, and that kind of draws you back in. And if the object was the breath, then you're back to inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And ways to anchor to the object are to think about things of the objects that are occurring. So if it is a object in your mind that has edges, you can think of all the edges of the box that you chose to think about. If it is the breath, you can think about the sensation of the breath as it moves past your nose and the sensation as it leaves, the temperature. You can think about the length of it. There's a lot of different ways to look at the qualities of your object. And then again, every time you have a thought that is not centered upon the object that you have chosen, then you can say to yourself, like we did last time, thinking or oh well, and try to ground back in to that single pointed focus, or what we know in yoga as ekatatta. And so when you choose an object, the other tendency as humans is to go, well, maybe I don't like that one. Maybe I'll choose another one and go this direction because this isn't working. And so whatever you choose, just say to yourself, no matter what, in this particular session, I'm going to try to stick with it. And maybe you choose it again. Maybe in these first few times that you're trying this, you might try one and try the other, but then try to settle in on which one you're going to stay with pretty quickly so that you can start to have some insight about what you've chosen and how you can stay with it. And this is just your tool. This is just your anchor so that you can come back over and over and over again. I was asked if you can choose an object that's something like an emotion. Really, it can be anything. You can choose anything that you want. And so if daily you have this sensation in your chest of anxiety, maybe that is something that you deal with every day. Something that's really interesting when you focus on an emotion that you're having, you'll notice that the emotion of anxiety, for example, we're having anxiety about the past or we're having anxiety about what's coming in the future. And if you look directly at whatever that emotion is in the present moment, then it starts to lose its hold because it's hard to have anxiety in the present moment. Usually it's something in the future, the past, and that's a lot of how our emotions go. And so that might be something that you choose to help you walk through the emotion that you have on a daily basis and have some insight about that. At the end of the day, choose something when you're starting off that seems doable to you. Try it all the way through a few meditations. And if you feel like you want to switch, you absolutely can, but then try to stick with it. This morning, because again, I know it's the most accessible thing, I'm going to lead you through an object of focusing on the breath as I lead you in. However, if you're like, nope, I think I really want to focus on the petals of a rose, then as soon as I stop talking, that can be your focus and you can take that all the way through. Just like the last time we did this, I'll have a beginning bell. We'll have a middle bell-ish. It's kind of a more like in 7 minutes. And then we'll have an ending bell. And this is, again, going to be a 12-minute meditation. We may extend that in the future, but for now, I think it's a good amount of time. And I encourage you, again, to have a little journal right after you do this, if you can, on what you noticed, what was coming up. And I'll also remind you that meditation is not trying to solve a problem. When people say, oh, I'm going to go meditate on this, that's kind of just a figure of speech. We don't want to be thinking in the meditation of the things that pop up of how we're going to solve them if we can help it. We just note the thought that happens, we acknowledge it, and then we try to let it move on, and then back to inhale, exhale, or the picture of the rose in our mind, or whatever we have chosen. So do the best you can. You're going to have however many thoughts you're going to have, and tons of opportunities to say thinking and just come back over and over. And that in and of itself is very successful. So I invite you to find a comfortable seat again. We spoke last time about maybe sitting on a firm surface, trying to get hips above your knees if you can by sitting on a blanket, or sitting in an upright chair where you have a nice tall posture and your feet are flat on the floor. I'm going to look down here and set up our timer. And as I am doing so, go ahead and kind of shift around in your chair. And if it's comfortable for you, close your eyes. And once your eyes are closed, start to bring your awareness to the room that you're in. Start to notice any sounds that you might hear outside of the room. Maybe you notice traffic as it's moving by. Just to connect, you might imagine what kind of day is today. Maybe it's cold where you live. Maybe it's warm. Maybe there will be gray skies or blue skies. Just hear or notice what you can notice. And then bring your awareness back into the room that you're sitting in. Bring awareness to all four corners of the room. Notice any sounds that you can hear in the room. Maybe there are people starting to get ready for the day. Maybe you can hear the hum of the heater or the AC. Maybe you have a pet that's settling in next to you. And then come in a little closer to you where you're sitting. Notice the weight of your hips into the chair. Maybe you can feel your legs tucked under you in a crossed position, or maybe they're pressing flat down into the floor. Notice the shape of your body. You can imagine just you took your finger and traced around the crown of your head, down the sides of your face and neck, around your shoulders, down the sides of your arms and torso, around the legs and around the feet. Noticing and imagining the front of you, the left side, the right side, and the back side. And then coming in even closer. Maybe you can notice your heartbeat as you sit still. And then as a beginning anchor, or one that you may use to continue with meditation, bring your awareness to the breath and the sensation of it as it moves into the nose, soft, easy breath, and as it leaves. Maybe you notice that your breath is cool or warm, deep or shallow, a wide breath or a narrow breath. Try not to judge these things as good or bad, just noticing. And any sounds that flow in, let them just be sounds. And as thoughts trickle by, note them, acknowledge them. You can say again, oh well, or thinking, and then back to your objects of meditation. You'll notice our beginning bell, the center bell, and then we will come together on the last bell. I will bring you back when it's time. Keeping your eyes closed, gently begin to bring your awareness back to your body. Maybe move your hands and roll your wrists around. You can rotate the body to the left and to the right. Maybe drop the head forward. Maybe lengthen the spine. And then bring the palms together. And cup the hands over the eyes. Let your eyes slowly open inside your hands, letting the light in. And then slowly bring your hands back down to your lap. Day 2 complete. Great job. Send this to anybody else that you think could use this today, and in the future they can join at any time. And use one of these 2 videos we've already done tomorrow morning if you can. And remember, if you have like 2 minutes, go jot some things that you noticed during meditation. And I'll see you guys again on Friday. If you have any questions or thoughts, you can always email me at seeds@methodwellnesspt.com. You can also just message me on Instagram or Facebook. That works too. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if there's any topics you'd like me to cover in the next sessions, I'm happy to do that as well. Okay, go have a wonderful day.